Good morning, everybody. Mark Finan here in the home weather office on this Wednesday morning. It's now the 5th day of November, 2025, and this is the morning briefing. Recording a little early this morning because, well, we have a storm going through the area. We've had some wind, although here at the home weather office, the wind was up and now it is down. I'll explain in a minute. And we are getting some pretty good rain. But I think for the valley especially, we aren't going to see that much rain. And even in the foothills, the rain should be tapering off. Let me show you the way it looks outside the home weather office. It is cloudy. You can't tell that it's raining from that view. But as you can see, you notice the branches there of the oak tree? They're moving, but they're not moving that much. An hour or so ago, we were getting some really good wind gusts here, but now it's just kind of more of a breeze as opposed to a strong wind. And again, I'll explain more on that here in just a minute. Let's go to the radar. Let's take this full. Somebody asked me yesterday what I use here. This is called radar scope, and so what I'm looking at here is the Davis radar. And again, I'm recording this around 7 o'clock in the morning. You can see that up here. This is a time lapse covering about 3 hours, ending at 7:01. So here's this line, and what usually happens is that as these lines move in, these cold fronts move in, the strongest winds are out ahead of and along the line here. And then once that goes down, it can stay breezy, but not as windy. Let me zoom in on that line just a little bit. Let me stop this animation. So this line, as I'm recording this, running through Lake of the Pines and Grass Valley, down through Cameron Park and Latrobe, and then down toward, let's call that Rancho Murrieta. That's where you see the heavy rain. And then out ahead of it, as I'm recording this, Placerville, probably pretty windy, especially up at the airport. Same thing in Pollock Pines. But in Sacramento and Davis, the wind will be dying down. Interesting what's going on here. All right, let's switch radars because I also want to talk about what's going on up here. So let me switch the radar. So you see these boxes here, but you don't see anything from the radar. Well, that's because we can't see what's going on here from the Davis radar. But if we go up here, oh, well, that looks a little bit more interesting. So let me put the cities on here, and let's zoom in on this a little bit. So what this orange box right here is, this is a special marine warning. And it says possible water spout. Let me zoom in on this a little bit more. Special marine warning from the Weather Service in Eureka. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing water spouts. It's located 19 miles southwest of Cape Mendocino, and gusts of 40 miles an hour. And then inland, we have special weather statements that basically say the same thing. Possible hail, winds gusting to 40, and we actually have two of these special weather statements. Not strong enough to be called a severe weather, severe thunderstorm warning, but still some pretty good activity going on up here. And then there's another one out here off the coast. Really, really interesting. Let me go back to let's actually go to the Reno radar, see if anything's happening. Nothing happening on the east side of the Sierra, but we still expect that we're going to see very strong winds on the east side of the Sierra during the day today. And we go back to the Davis radar, and what we're likely going to see is this band of heavy rain that went through will then dissipate to occasional showers as we go through the day. All right, let's switch things up and go to, let me do this and then this. So let's talk a little bit about the wind. So what I'm using here is called Meso West. And what you're seeing here are current wind gusts in the Bay Area. Let's go down to the Bay Area. You zoom in on this a little bit. So at Oakland, for instance, current gust of 39 miles an hour. If we query this, these little dots up here indicate where we're getting the strongest gusts right now in the upper 30s. And the red line is the current sustained wind, or this is actually the track of the wind. So you have your wind speed here, and then wind direction over here. Wind direction is indicated by the blue dots. So you can see that right around 2 o'clock in the morning, the wind all of a sudden came up. We started getting gusts up around 35 at Oakland. All right, let's take a look at what happened in Sacramento. So let's go to Executive Airport, and we'll do the same thing here. The winds, we did get a gust up here around 18 at Executive Airport, and we still might see some gusts around 20, but it looks like the winds are kind of underperforming, at least in the valley. Ione has had some stronger winds. Did have a gust of 32, but not seen on this graph. Don't know why, but have had a gust of 32. And let's see, I mentioned Placerville. Let's go to the wind here. And as you can see, still windy, but look at how the wind just came down in that last hour. Until that line goes through, we're likely going to see the winds stay rather gusty. But for the foothills, we are going to see some pretty strong winds. Let's go see what's happening on the east side of the Sierra. For that, I'm going to have to switch this to, let's find Nevada. These are all done by state. And Nevada begins with an N, I believe. Let's go to Reno, refresh map, current wind gusts. Yeah, so Reno, gust of 43 currently. Galena, I'm not sure what this is, gust of 60. Carson City, gusting 20. Dead Camel Mountain, gust of 31. Most of these higher gusts right now are going to be, and maybe some of the higher peaks. Fish Springs, gust of 54. But we're in for another few hours of some of these stronger winds. Let's see what's going on at Tahoe. The Tahoe Airport, gust of 54. Woo! Truckee Airport, gust of 40. Yeah. Pretty nasty up here. And these are the areas that'll continue to see stronger winds. The mountains will see some pretty strong winds, and the east side of the Sierra will continue to see some pretty strong winds. All right, here's the satellite. Again, I'm recording too early to get a lot of light on the satellite this morning, but here's our cold front going through, colder air behind it. This is the little cell right here that I showed you on the radar. That the Eureka Weather Office was talking about. But here is the area of steady rain, behind it scattered showers. So the rainfall totals are going to be on the lighter side. So let's talk a little bit about rain. And for that, we're going to go to the California Nevada River Forecast Center. And some areas, some folks blew me up yesterday for not hitting this harder. This is 24-hour rainfall totals. And as you can see, where it rained yesterday, it rained hard in areas from Redding to the north, 2 to 3 inches of rain. But this morning's rain, which you're seeing here in Sonoma and Napa County, generally close to half an inch to an inch. In Sacramento, as of this reporting, less than 1/10 of an inch of rain. And as you can see, none of the rain has been registered yet into the foothills, but that'll be changing because, again, I'm recording this relatively early. All right, let's go to the HRRR and see how this is going to progress during the course of the day today. Let's go up to the current run. All right, and this is the 12Z. Shows the rain going through, and then behind it, just scattered showers. And not much snow. This is just not going to be a great snow producer. This is this afternoon, scattered showers into the valley, but the wind certainly not going to be much of an issue. Then into tonight, everything dries out. Tomorrow's dry, except this is tomorrow afternoon around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. More rain for Humboldt County. Shout out to Humboldt County. And that's the system we were looking at for going by Friday that may bring some rain to Plumas County. But it generally looks as though everything is going to stay off to the north. So that's the big picture of what's going to happen with the rain today. Let's zoom in on this a little bit more. So here's the rain this morning. This is pretty well validated. So initialized, I should say. So this looks a lot like the radar I just showed you does, and this is at 7 o'clock, just as I'm recording this. But as you can see, that line moves through pretty quickly, maybe bringing some slushy snow around 10 o'clock in the morning to the crest of the Sierra. But behind it, just kind of scattered showers. So this is the sort of thing where it rains for a little while, then it stops. Likely the possibility of thunderstorms here. This is 5 o'clock into parts of Shasta County, maybe into Tehama County. But this evening, yeah, everything dries up, and then tomorrow is dry. Let's talk a little bit about the wind gusts. I think the wind is going to is certainly underperforming in the valley. This is still showing that over the next couple of hours we may see some gusts of 30. But if you remember yesterday, I showed you this, and this is the HRRR. It was much stronger for the valley, showing a lot of areas of gusts of 40. We have not seen that. I think the winds will continue to die down as we go through the morning. You'll see here at 10 o'clock, Reno, gust of 65. Remember this model yesterday was showing gusts over 70. But 10 o'clock seems to be about the time of the peak winds, and then they die down. So this is 5 p.m. Gusts of 15 to 20 in the valley. That's nothing. It's just kind of a breezy sort of thing. And even in the Sierra, the winds will be less this afternoon than what we're seeing now, and we'll see, let's say, through about noontime today. And then after that, the winds aren't an issue at all. And in terms of total precipitation, no, not that one. I want total QPF. This is what I want. This is looking pretty reasonable for, a quarter to a third of an inch around Sacramento and Stockton, but you don't have to go very far to the east. You get to Roseville and Folsom, and you get closer to that 1 inch range. And then in areas like Yolo County and Solano County, really not much in the way of rain. But Grass Valley, Nevada City, 2.5, maybe 3 inches, depending on your orographics. Placerville, 1.5 inches or so. And then that continues all the way down through Calaveras County, Tuolumne County, a lot less. So this looks like a pretty reasonable solution. And then in terms of snow, yeah, it's showing maybe a couple of slushy inches on the summit. And the best of that would be late this morning. Okay, so that's our short term. Let's go ahead and take a look at the big picture. So I hope I got you through today and tomorrow and what we're expecting. Now, let's look ahead to the weekend, and we're going to go take a trip out into Fantasyland. Okay, so as we get into the weekend, we get some ridging. This is nice. So if you have any outdoor plans for this weekend, it still looks great. It'll warm up again. And then we get this meandering cutoff low. But behind that, another stronger trough comes our way. This is a week from tomorrow. So the end of next week, we might have something. And that would be really interesting as we head through Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of next week. Behind that, another trough comes our way right here. This is Monday the 17th for some activity going on. And that also turns into a cutoff low. Now let's go back to this, and let's go to the GFS. And we're going to zoom back out. And we're going to go to Precip. Okay, so this is the overnight GFS. So here's the system we have today. Everything dries out. Here's the passing system on Thursday night, Friday, affecting the northern part of the state, and then we're dry through the weekend. This is Sunday. There's that cutoff low. Not doing much for us, but then here comes rain on Thursday of next week, Friday, with something else following behind it, Friday into Saturday. Then another one comes in on Monday. That's pretty nice. Now, again, this is all fantasy land. So total rain shows that between now and, well, over the next 2+ weeks, 3 inches of rain for the valley, 6 inches of rain for the foothills, and for the skiers, how much snow are we expecting? Oh, 3-4 feet, something like that. Again, this is just fantasy land, but this is the 6Z run. Let me show you yesterday's 18Z run, which was even more bonkers. This is showing, 84 to 100 inches of snow. And again, this is over the next 2.5 weeks, and it's also fantasy land. What the models have been relatively consistent with going beyond today is a somewhat active pattern through the middle part of this month. Just how active remains to be seen. But what we do in the weather business is you take them one at a time. You don't get too caught up with, what's going to happen a week from tomorrow and then what's going to happen 10 days out and 12 days out. You just take them one at a time because you really don't have the resources to tell you with any great accuracy what's going to happen 10 days out. But what you can tell is that there's enough consistency in the models to say there's likely something happening next Thursday, Friday-ish. And so that's what we'll watch once we get past this weekend. The weekend will be fine for anything going on outdoors with that ridge moving back in. So nice little rain today, very beneficial rain, not much snow. Wind, it doesn't look like it's a big issue for the valley, a big issue on the east side of the Sierra, highlighted that. The rain will taper to occasional showers, maybe an afternoon thunderstorm, especially in areas from Butte County to the north. And then Thursday and Friday look dry, other than the areas north of Butte County that I mentioned. So I think that's everything I've got for you on this Wednesday morning. Make it a great day. Enjoy the storm. I'll talk with you later.